Morning, Caroline.
Oh, Maggie, I love your new
Hi.
picture. Hi, Carolyn. Tell me about
Hi.
your dog. What's your dog's name?
My dog's name is Bosco. He's 13 years old.
Bosco Boy. I love it.
Yeah. And so I'm a blind person, but he's not a guide dog. He's just a puppy that we spoil him rotten. So
That's wonderful.
now that our son is grown and lives in California, we got to spoil something. So
Right.
might as well be a dog.
Yeah. Dogs are really good for that, I think. I get it.
So
All right. I think I've got just about everything set up here, so I'm going to start talking whether I've got it worked out right or not. This morning, Workbook Lesson 89, there's a group out there that worked on the purple book called The Circle of Atonement, and I go to their website in the mornings to get something to kind of have pretty when I start the stream, a nice picture, and I've been using theirs, probably without giving them enough credit for a while now. That looks good. Got this set up. And I think I'm only missing you guys in Clubhouse here up on the picture, and then we're good to go. So there is Club Deck. I see Bill. I see Jordan. All right, we're doing great. Look at everybody. Good morning, everybody. It's great to see you. All right, one more time. Beyond this is the miracle by which all my grievances are replaced. Lesson 89. Today we're going to review Lesson 77 and Lesson 78. 77 is I'm entitled to miracles. I'm entitled to miracles because I'm under no laws but God's laws. God's laws release me from all grievances and replace all grievances with miracles. And I would accept the miracles in place of the grievances, which are but illusions that hide the miracles beyond. Now, I would accept only what the laws of God entitle me to have, that I may use miracles on behalf of the function of forgiveness that God has given me. You might use these suggestions for specific applications of this idea that I'm entitled to miracles. So like we've done for the last several days, as you're walking through your daily life and you encounter the quote-unquote real world, small r reality, and maybe you stub your toe or someone tries to stub your toe for you, here's some phrases to keep in your pocket. Behind this is a miracle to which I am entitled. Let me not hold a grievance against you, Billy Blank, but offer you the miracle that belongs to you instead. Ooh, that is a good one. Let me not hold a grievance against you, whomever, but offer you the miracle that belongs to you instead. And then another situation, seeing truly, this offers me a miracle. The second lesson that we're reviewing is let miracles replace all grievances. By this idea of letting miracles replace all grievances, do I unite with the Holy Spirit and do I unite my will with the Holy Spirit and perceive both the Holy Spirit and my will as one? By this idea of letting miracles replace all grievances, do I accept my release from hell? By this idea of letting miracles replace all grievances? Do I express my willingness to have all of my illusions be replaced with truth according to God's plan for my salvation? I would make no exceptions and no substitutes, for I want all of heaven and only heaven as God wills me to have. Here are some specific forms for applying this idea of letting miracles replace all grievances. I would not hold this grievance apart from my salvation. Of course, replace this awkward word grievance with your actual grievance. So when I stub my toe on the nail that's sticking out of the floor over here in this temporary lodging that I have, and I've done it enough times to really hate this nail, I would not hold this nail apart from my salvation, no matter how it bloodies my toe. It's not worth it. And in case you're worried, I haven't done it in a while. I finally learned where that nail is and not to walk close to it. Another one is for somebody who does this to you. Let our grievances be replaced by miracles. Billy Blank or whoever. Whatever kind of grievance, whomever is in front of you, none of it is worth keeping the miracles out of your life that are going to make everything great. The last one I've got is, beyond this, whatever situation it is the miracle by which all my grievances are replaced. Beyond this situation is the miracle by which all my grievances are replaced. So today I'm lined up in a perfect position to have miracles arrive in my life. And this last line is perfect for me. I have been working for the last month to secure the next apartment to move into. Things are lined up, so I've got to move by Friday, and still don't have a lease signed, so a little scrambling, ready for a miracle, so that all my grievances against myself and my ability to coordinate where I live can be replaced by a miracle. So today, let's take a moment or two to seat this deep inside of ourselves, take it to heart, and let it show up in our lives. Would you lead us in a little bit of breath work, please?
Hello, good morning, everybody. So let's take a few deep breaths. Sorry, it's just that Lee almost fall here. So let's take a few deep breaths and let's just be really present in this moment. Let's feel our bodies in the position where we are right now. If it is lying in bed, feel the sheets of your bed, feel the weight of your body on your chair, feel your feet, all your body. And be aware of your breathing. Let the air go in, the deep and wide that you can, the deepest and wide that you can. And hold it a little bit and release it easily, letting go all the worries or the discomfort that you may have right now. Take another deep breath. And let it go easily. This time pull your belly button towards your spine to let go all the air out. And in this last breathing, think in the Holy Spirit. And let go the idea of kingdom of heaven. And feel your heart and all The feelings that you may have, let it be, and take the beautiful light that you have in your heart and expand it throughout your body. So let's ignite all the cells in your body, all the organs, all the bones, and let that light go to the center of the earth, and let Mother Earth give you back a fresh and clean energy that goes through your feet and starts to ease and put order within your body. So the energy goes up to your body, lighting up everything and giving release and peace within you. And with this idea, all the energy that it's now within you goes into a beautiful, beautiful ball of light that goes beyond your place, beyond this earth, and starts to search for this beautiful white light that is above you, passing all the things that you know, the universe, all the lights that you can know in this world, and find itself in a beautiful white space, bright, bright white space. Go up, up, up. And in this beautiful white space, you can release this energy that it's yourself, and you can blend into this energy. And you can see only white around you, this beautiful white light, peaceful and beautiful white light. And in there you will give thanks. You shouldn't see anything, it's just your view of this white around you. And give thanks for anything that you want to give thanks to. And feel supported and feel part of this oneness. And let's listen to guidance of Lee with this lesson of today.
Today I am entitled to miracles. Because I am under no laws but God's. Today I'm going to let miracles replace any feelings that hold me back. Things that I think of that keep the grievances alive in my life. The things that keep me from being able to see the miracles that God's trying to offer to me. Today, I'll accept exactly what the laws of God entitle me to have, that I can use it on behalf of the function He's given me. Seek to be an instrument of God. Make yourself, prepare yourself like you're caring for a beautiful musical instrument. Stay in tune. Be lovingly cared for by those around you. By being an instrument for God, we can allow God to work through us. And that's the greatest joy we can have. If you felt the revelation, if you felt any inkling of where God's love is, you know it's far beyond a human love. And so today, you're entitled to that love. All you have to do is let go of your grievances, and the miracles will flow. I'm going to read through these statements again for specific applications of both of these ideas. because according to God's plan for my salvation, I am willing to have my illusions be replaced with the truth, with a capital T. No exceptions, no substitutes. I want all of heaven and only heaven as God wills me to have. So if something gets in your way, remember, behind this is a miracle to which I'm entitled. If someone makes you angry, say, let me not hold a grievance against you, but offer the miracle that belongs to you instead. If we have a situation that makes us frustrated, try to take a minute, take a deep breath, and realize that seen truly, this situation offers me a miracle. And patiently ask for it, and it really will be delivered. Finally, if there's something that's getting in your way today, that's blocking you from salvation, just ask for the grievance to be replaced by a miracle. And beyond this, by which all the grievances are replaced, the miracle will arrive, will raise you up, and protect you, holding you safe. God's love is everywhere, and this is how we call it into our life. It's a hard practice, but it's also really simple. So, today, let's tie a little string around our finger for these ideas. I'll post them up in our room. I will get the video for this meditation assigned to our website, acourseinmiracles.live, and into our Facebook group, if that's easier. So that's going to be our day. I'm going to wrap this up and ask for you guys just to let me know how your day's going, what's going on. We'll get ready for our last little bit, and I'll get the notes ready for us. Okay. So, good morning, Janine. Good morning, Jordan. Good morning, Maggie. Hi, Carolyn. Julie, thanks for coming up here.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. What is the name of the Facebook group?
I will post a link to it right up above. It's it's okay. So, George, there's a guy named George who comes in here usually, and my dad and I formed a Facebook group last year to try and center this around, and we kind of have spread out. The Facebook group's name is, I can't think and talk at the same time. All right, there it is. Okay, so now at the top of your screen, you should see a link. It says ACIM Morning Coffee. The title of the Facebook group is actually a deep dive.
Okay.
But this link will take you there with make it really easy. If you click on it, does it open your Facebook app and make it easy for you?
I think I'll just go because it's not showing up. My screen reader's not reading it right now, but I'll get it. It's okay. It'll be
This is absolutely one of those things that would mess up a screen reader, and I'd be more than happy to send you an email with a link or anything else if you'd like. Okay?
okay. But I think I'll just go to Facebook and put in a deep dive group.
Deep dive, ACIM. Yep, yep,
Okay.
that'll work.
Thank you a bunch. You all have a great day.
Oh, Carolyn, thanks for joining us. I really appreciate you being here.
I
And if I
enjoyed
can do
it.
anything to help, feel free to reach out to me, okay? It's
Thank you.
lovely.
Okay.
My pleasure. That's okay. We'll get it. So, we've been here since July 4th, reading from this book. Started doing the lessons at the beginning of this year. We're up to day 89. I hope it's helpful for you guys. I'd love to learn how it's helping your life. I can tell you, for me, it's helping me be a lot more calm in the face of the challenges of this week, which include moving and maybe the end of my, I got a 2-week extension on my contracting job that was supposed to end at the end of this month. So another couple of weeks actually makes it a lot easier to get through April, one little bit at a time. And I got faith that something's showing up. I had some great interviews on Monday, and there's no need for me to worry. Worry doesn't help me. So that's what I'm applying all of this stuff to. My father's also off on a world traveling trip of the kind he's never been on his own. I have faith in him, and that the continent of Africa will rise up to help him, help him do whatever he can to help them, because I know he's got a pure heart and he's really trying hard. And my children, they also are a challenge. So I'm sending love their way. These aren't necessarily grievances or issues or problems, but our world shows up in a bunch of different ways, and the more ways I feel like I'm open to God giving me a solution, feels like the better off I am.
Well, I do have to say that with this housing situation, I just remember that we are holding grievances against this lady. So we need to just let it go.
All right, Whitney.
We need to say, I'm sorry, please forgive me. I thank you. And I love you, Whitney. Because yesterday this woman was really like not caring of giving us more information about the application, but I guess we need to release that. We need to forgive that. Maybe it's not going to be the place, or who knows, but as long as we hold this kind of grievance, we won't see the truth. So I'm willing to just give all the love to this lady and that new apartment that we are going to have and the opportunity. And we have been taking the steps that we need to take. We have made applications in some others, and we are getting like a little bit worried about timings, but there's not anything to worry about. There's nothing to worry about. We have solutions instead of problems. We just come in each day with a full heart of faith, and let's see what happens. Let's see what happens today. Today, I'm entitled to miracles. So let's hope for a huge revelation today. Or if not, we will be okay as well. How about you all? How are you? Let's see.
Hey.
Hi, Maggie.
Good.
How are you?
Good morning, family. Grand Rising.
Please go and read the notes, or if you want to share with us what is the content of your week or your day, we will
Oh, I just
gladly.
wanted to say that I have 100% faith that the perfect place is right around the corner for you guys. Absolutely.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
hmm
Thank you very much. We need those kind of thoughts right now. Thank you.
All right, so as I said several times, this is a review of 77 and 78. So I'm going to read the notes from lesson 77. I'm entitled to miracles. And you guys can feel free to interrupt me. If something hits you and you're really excited to share it, it might be something we all need to hear. So I know there's a ton of encouragement for participation in this room. It feels like the right thing to do, so I'll keep mentioning it until somebody tells me to stop. And here we go. I'm entitled to miracles. You are entitled to miracles because of what you are, which is God's beloved child. You will receive miracles because of what God is. This is the actual lesson reading. Excuse me for a moment. Just go 2 more pages over here. The digital book.
Lee, you might, if you might prefer to read 170 with notes on 78,
I will
instead
take
of
your advice, Tom.
it's up to you. But
Oh no,
since
I
we're
see
talking
why
about
now.
grievances, the other ones just talk about miracles.
You're right, I see that now. There is an unimaginable amount of value of having the author of a book suggest where you should start. So thank you so much. I really appreciate you being here with me, Tom. Notes to lesson 78. Let miracles replace all grievances. Let miracles replace all grievances. Address your decision maker. Within your split mind, you have the ability to choose between which 2 thought systems you will follow. Be it the thought system for love and forgiveness, or the thought system for fear. This is always the decision that you are asked to make. Based on that decision, you will give and receive either a grievance or a miracle. You can only choose one, as each is mutually exclusive. And if you're following along, we're reading from A Course in Miracles Workbook for Dummies. And I'm on page 769. In time and space, your life unfolds before you as a series of cause and effect relationships surrounded by conditions. The cause for all experiences is your own mind. Your world of perception reflects your own thoughts and beliefs. The experiences that follow are the effect of your mind's thinking. The mass collective consciousness of our world is fear-based. Because of this, the provisional reality of most people is frightening. Their world reflects their ego's belief that they are a limited ego body in competition with other limited ego bodies for the limited resources that both need to survive. Your ego has developed a plan for your survival. The ego's plan says that something outside of your mind must act in a certain way for you to get your needs met. This belief lays the foundation for grievances, which are the primary weapon that our ego uses to manipulate its outer world in an attempt to get its way. Another part of your ego's plan for your happiness entails entering into special relationships with other parties to help ensure that your needs get met. In the special relationship, each party surrenders some of their limited resources in exchange for the resources of the other party. When someone fails to perform according to your ego's plan, a grievance is formed, and you're justified in demanding some type of satisfaction. Your ego's ability to survive revolves around you holding grievances against your neighbor. Your ego uses these grievances to manipulate the person in hopes of getting its own way. These grievances are really your egoic mind's justification for your attack against the other. Your ego's world reflects the grievances that you hold because your outer world is merely a reflection of your inner world. Egoic grievances are reflected in each person's actions as each attempts to manipulate the other party to get their way. Most people realize that they are being manipulated, and therefore they counteract with their own brand of the manipulation. Egoic relationships become a series of attacks and counterattacks by which each party determined to get the best deal and to prove they are right. Actually, grievances are an attack on both parties' abilities to be the creator of their own experience. Holding grievances helps maintain the cycle of attack and counterattack. Grievances reinforce the ego's belief that there are outside forces that must act in a certain way if you're to be happy. Grievances declare that you are an innocent victim, and when you choose to let a miracle replace the attack and counterattack relationship, you break that fear-based cycle. Your decision maker inside your head, the one that questions, has a choice of how you will decide to react to the egoic projections and actions of your brothers and sisters. You can choose to perceive another's actions through the eyes of fear. If so, their actions will be perceived as an attack or a manipulation, or both. This is how most people choose to react. This justifies additional grievances on both sides. Let's go to war. Or you can break from tradition and choose to view their actions as a cry for love, a lesson, a learning lesson, an opportunity to respond appropriately to a cry for love. When you choose to follow the thought system of the Holy Spirit, you obtain the vision of love and forgiveness. When you see another's actions as a cry for love rather than an attack, you've decided that your inner peace is more important than holding a grievance against the other party. Your choice for a miracle instead of a grievance breaks the fear-based cycle within your own mind, and perhaps the same cycle for all parties involved. You have decided not to project back the illusion of fear into your outer world. Instead, your story reinterprets your brother's actions as a cry for love, so you can respond with love and forgiveness. The cycle of fear has been broken, and your world and your brother's world becomes a more peaceful place. That's the end of the notes. And so I'd love to hear how this makes you feel.
Yeah, and the question after that was,
Go ahead, Tom.
what is more important, your right to blame another for failing to make you happy or your own inner peace? And I'd like to kind of touch on this idea of grievances and just look at it from a totally selfish way, a divine selfishness. When you hold a grievance, what that really means is that you're tying up one of your energy circuits or multiple energy circuits with something that's already happened in the past. And that means that that energy circuit is not available to deal with the problem that's in front of you. You no longer have 100% of your attention on the matter at hand. Instead, you have 20, 30% of your attention, or maybe even typically probably more like 90 or 100% of your attention particles focused on trying to figure out how we can blame, shame, or guilt somebody else, or perhaps ourselves, and that doesn't help us meet the problem at hand. We now are going to bat with only 10% of our energy, our creative energy, available to deal with the problem. So holding grievances actually works against our ability to solve the problem because we're not focused on the problem in front of us. We're focused on arguing for our rightness that deals with the past that we can really do nothing about. It's over and done with. So totally from a selfish reason, it doesn't do us any good. Now, to the ego, though, it does us plenty of good because we get to say it's not my fault. We get to blame somebody else for us being a victim, and we get to play a pity party about poor me. But that doesn't help us move out of the situation at hand, the problem at hand, and resolve the matter. So totally from a totally selfish reason, it's not a good thing to hold these grievances. Why? Because that disempowers you and you can no longer bring all the attention to the matter at hand. And that helps continue to feed that. And the thing with grievances is that if there's a learning experience out there for us, we're going to have to learn it. It's just a matter of when we decide to do that. And if we don't want to learn the lesson that that experience was designed to teach us, we're going to have to repeat that in the future. And our future becomes a replay of the past. And why do you want to go through those things again and again? So it's best to, in a creation cycle, okay, which is the belief, actions, commingling with the events of the world, filtered through our lens, our viewpoints become our experiences. And when we hit that feedback cycle, or the feedback part of the creation cycle, it's when we want to look and say, what lessons, what was the results that I got from my actions and my beliefs? Am I satisfied with those? Did I get the right thing? Yes, no. If I didn't, rather than blame someone, just what actions do I need to take? What beliefs do I need to change so that I can make mid-course corrections so I can get the proper results that I want? And the proper result ultimately, when you realize what you truly are, is the restoration of your inner peace. So, it's totally from energy, and that's what we are. We're a bundle of energy. It's in our best interest to forgive and recover those tied up energy circuits so that you can be more in the present and be able to handle situations effectively. Fear arises anytime you believe you lack the creative ability to handle a situation. And whenever you're going into we'll use the term battle, with only 5% of your energy circuits, the odds of you favorably resolving that situation is impaired. Thank you.
No, thank you, Tom. I love your question. I was telling Lee, you shouldn't let the questions for so long. I mean, read the question. And I was thinking while you were talking about this, that even with some things that recently we all around the world experienced the situation with Will Smith in the Oscars. And I have to say that it really, really made me sad because I really had Will Smith like one of my best. Yeah, it's one of my best people in the movie world. I mean, I love what he does, and I love what Jada do with her show on Facebook, and they are really an example of a couple. And then this happened, and I said to myself, "Oh my God, this is such unfortunate event." Sorry, thank you, because it really takes all the love out of the equation, and it looks like the ego full. Makes it look ugly. Yeah, it makes it. I mean, I know that he probably did that out of his own emotions towards Yara, trying to protect her or something. But love needs no defense, and the only thing that he do there and show us is that whenever we let our egos go loose, everybody loses. For Chris Rock, I don't say that he was good or bad. It's just that he didn't deserve either to be shamed like that in front of everybody around the world. And Jada, I think that for her should probably be something that she didn't want it to happen. So I guess it's a good example of how we need to forgive and find another kind of resolution path or communication path to let our discomfort be expressed, because violence or reaction or acting out of our ego is not the solution.
So I think he's done a good example. He's made a good example of how to try and repair it after it happens. I know I've fallen into this trap over and over, and it's one of the hardest parts of trying to live this course is realizing how hard it truly is to respond with love when you feel like you're being attacked or you feel like somebody you love is being attacked. So I have a lot of practice in trying to recover from mistakes that I made. And it has to start with forgiving yourself first for having the reaction that you know you're better than this. And you slipped again. Because the ego responds first and loudest, and it's really, really hard to ignore, as I'm sure I don't have to convince anybody of here. So when we fall into that trap, I've got a story that helps me that I learned when I started out in the 12 steps. Trying to learn how to avoid and experience an emotional trap that we fall into is like walking down a sidewalk that has a big hole in it. And you're walking down the first time and you're looking around at the beautiful trees and everything, you don't see anything, and all of a sudden you fall into this dark hole. You can't see how to get out. And you scratch and you scrape and you dig until you finally get your way out, and you, mystified, just fumble down the rest of the sidewalk wondering what the hell just happened. The first time you get involved in a huge emotional uproar, it feels like that. It feels like getting hit by a truck. And I'm sure Will's truck drove him right up onto that stage to smack that little guy in his face. And maybe he could have done better, but this time he made an example for the rest of us to learn from. He had known Chris for more than 30 years. It's not like they'd never met each other before and worked together. He could have come to his senses, probably. I don't know. I know in my situation, I've made the same kind of mistake, more than enough to realize the first thing I have to do is forgive myself, and the very next thing I have to do is do my best to make amends. And This book doesn't really talk about that kind of thing real specifically because making amends makes the problem real and a bunch of other things. But in the 12 steps, making amends is one of the steps to making the situation whole again, to recovering from, in the 12 steps parlance, some kind of way of acting that we don't want to act anymore. The 12 steps are specifically trying to help you replace behaviors at a worldly level. And for a lot of people, once you get through those 12 steps and you can kind of take care of living in the real world, they come to A Course in Miracles. A lot of the people that went to my church, Unity Church, were from the 12 steps. And I've learned a lot from them and my own time in the 12 steps to know that's a good practical practice, but it can only get you so far. Once you get the spiritual experience, the 12th step promises, the spiritual experience carries you forward. And that's what this course is about. Bringing about spiritual experiences and putting them to effective use in your world so that you can have regular occurrences of miracles. That's what the book says we're supposed to have. If we don't have miracles in our lives, we're not doing something right. I feel like I found a path to follow, and this will be my path for the rest of my life. I know my dad searched his whole life. He's found this as a path. Whatever path you take, find one that has led other people to the top of the mountain so you can be there too. This brings peace to the world. This is what we're here for.
And I was mentioning this because it gave me a little bit of grievance on these two people that I don't know. I mean, I don't know Will Smith, but I felt like, oh, why did he have to do that? So what I was trying to make the point here is that even with situations that has nothing to do with you, you need to let yourself be aware of your perception in order for you to see miracles and really clean the energy around. Because, for example, in this in this situation, of course, I don't know him and I don't mind about what he does, but it really, my heart felt like, oh, why did he have to do that? And now that is not a good response on Chris' jokes or whatever. So I have to really do my forgiveness part on Will Smith, for example. In those kind of details, we also have ego content to review in order for us to let the energy go peacefully, because we don't understand why really that happened in the bottom of the entire situation. And as that looked bad, it could raise awareness on other things that nobody have before. For example, the way that the Oscars held the host with this kind of jokes and things like that. I don't know. Maybe it's an opportunity to do it better and review the content of the jokes with the people involved and ask permission. I don't know, but it always comes for a higher reason that we don't need to understand. So whenever you feel uncomfortable or annoyed for other people's doing, even if it has nothing to do with you, that is also a judgment and the ego content of your mind. So with those situations, you can also do your job and practice the Course in Miracles principles in order for you to experience miracles. Because the way you see all around you is the way you're going to experience reality. So, and there's another question that Lee has on the screen. I don't know if you're going to read it, but they are also good questions. So if anybody wants to jump in and say something, Tom, you have your mic on, Tom.
I wanted to say, if you really, in time and space, if you really feel that your action has been inappropriate and that it shouldn't have been done and you'd like to take it back, here's the question is how to handle the transgression or the action that you did. The important thing is to how you're going to handle trying to recover that, not why you actually did it. When you try to explain or justify why you did something, you are trying to make excuses for your bad actions, and you're refusing to take full responsibility. So here's a 4 steps needed to maybe recover an energy circuit that was tied up with transgression, which I'm going to say is an action that you took in physicality that you don't feel is appropriate. And whenever I speak of action, it could be a thought or anything, but if it's an action that you did against somebody else, here's 4 steps. The first is sincere repentance. Okay, I'm really sorry. The second is confession. No excuses. I did it. The third is to amend or atone. I'm going to make it my number one priority to repair the damage that my action caused. The fourth is alignment with your own intuition or higher self. I will hereafter responsibly follow the guidance of my big S self, my higher self, my intuition, my Holy Spirit, rather than just follow my ego, because my ego is always going to tend to react for its rightness and argue for its rightness and try and get its way. So there's no really blame, shame, or guilt game involved. It's just instead, it's a self honesty, responsibility, and reclaiming your own sourceness, integrity, and inner peace. And that's like a 4-step process to try and recover those energy circuits when you feel that you've actually taken inappropriate action. Thank you.
That is great. Thank you. That's very, very much like the 7th step when we go about making amends. And I think those 4 steps are a real simple thing. When we get into the practical application of apologies and making amends, it's important to know sometimes the best amends you can make is just to apologize to the universe and not interact with that person anymore. Sometimes, sometimes it's restitution. Sometimes, but it's really good to use a friend and check some of your ways of making amends out before you do it, so that you don't cause more harm. When we start, this is all outside of the book area. Amends, the book doesn't go into amends because it's making real what we're supposed to be trying to get rid of and alleviate from ourselves. Forgive and turn into miracles, in other words. So it's still important to do that and function in the real world though, right, Tom?
You're trying to get rid of the blame that you yourself on a conscious or subconscious level hold against you, because you're the keeper of your own karmic keys. And so you think that you've done something inappropriate. It's better to deal with that and make the amends. Like Lee says, it may be something internally, it may or may not involve that other party. But it's something to make you whole and complete, so that you feel, and we're very hard on ourselves because we've got this balancing scale where we feel we have to do penance for those things. So go ahead and do your penance so that you can recover and say, now I'm able to go on with my life and not drag that past event into your future and have that weigh on you. We've got to realize that whatever action we took at that moment, 5 years ago, whenever I kicked the dog or whatever, that was the most loving that I could be based on my current state or level of fear. And if you were me and you had my exact beliefs, assumptions about myself, and decisions that I had made in the past, you would have done that same thing, because that was the most loving that anyone could have performed at that moment in time. So there's no blame, shame, or guilt. It's just feedback. And now, because it's 5 years later or whatever, where we've had that experience, maybe in the present or in the future, we can make different choices. That's what it says. Choose again. Your choices. Choose again. Try and do it a little differently, or argue for your ego's rightness and let that drag on and drag into your future and hold you back from a higher vision of yourself. Thank you.
Thank you,
Good
Tom.
morning, everyone.
Hey, Stella.
How you guys doing this morning?
Feeling all right?
That's good. That's good. Adriana, you
Hi, my
mentioned
friend.
how you doing, darling?
I'm super, super fine, well, and happy here. So let's hear what you have to say to us today. Sorry, I'm super
That's
glad to see you
beautiful.
here.
Yeah, that's beautiful. You mentioned Will Smith, right? And you mentioned like how you felt. Um, it's been like big talk, like in my little world here, people are constantly talking about it. And I like how I felt about it is that it just brought curiosity to me, like first it was shock, like what? When I heard it. And then it made me wonder like really what's going on with him. So as a result of that, I realized that I had his book. Has anyone had the opportunity to read it or listen to his book? Probably not, right?
The book from Will Smith, I have seen. I mean, I did saw the Oprah interview when he launched the book, but I don't have the book. Are you talking
Right.
about the Will Smith book, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and it's
Mm-hmm.
quite something. I know that. I did
Yeah.
wanted to bought it, but I never did.
Right. Now I had purchased it before on Audible. Um, Sometimes I listen right away, sometimes I don't. But I just so happened that that was a book that I happened to had purchased, and listening to it, it's like it's just complete understanding of like why, he probably what would drive him to do that. Well, first of all, like I mean, I can see how we know that obviously he was angry about something, or it triggered him, that comment triggered him. And in his book, he basically, and it's interesting, like how, like listening to what he's saying after, you know, he did something publicly like that, right? And basically, what, like the book is basically is on his early life, and listening to it, like when I purchased it, I think I was more interested like in his adult life, not so much like his childhood and his really early life, but the book really focused a lot on that, like, his upbringing with his father. It starts out with his father, and it basically talks about like how strict his father was. His father was a military man, and how his father was abusive, and how like as a young person, he witnessed that, and how he wasn't able to protect his like his mother. He mentioned like some really traumatic moments in his life where he felt really helpless and stuff. So like listening to Tom, speaking stuff like, yeah, absolutely, Tom, I totally agree. It's like if we had all the information about a person, we probably, would understand them a little better. I can understand like perfectly like what told him to do that, what told him to get up and smack the shit out, you know, out of that man. But the whole thing is that he actually did it, and the fact that he did it kind of like made me kind of think about myself. You know, it made me really, really, really just think about myself and like what, and the ego and how the ego operates. Um, Another thing too that I was like that it kind of made me think of was that movie A Beautiful Mind, and I mentioned it in another group yesterday. That movie. I don't know if you guys had an opportunity like to look at that movie. And
What is the
it's
name
just
again? The name of the
a
movie?
beautiful mind,
A Beautiful
a
Mind.
beautiful mind, right? And it just basically just like it deals with schizophrenia, and how
Yeah, I remember it. Yeah.
yeah, and how you know, like with people who suffer from that, how they actually see things. They can't differentiate reality, from from, from what they're seeing from reality. And I'm telling you, all of these events is just happening. It's just really just like such an education for me, such an education, like how Will got up and smacked that man, right? Because something told him to do that, you know? He may not suffer from, he may not suffer from schizophrenia, like actually, but like the ego, it's like it's allowing me to see that I suffer from something just as deep, because like I've had the ego tell me to do crazy stuff like that. And throughout my life, I've done it. I've literally done it. I'm a parent, and I have done things, what I mean, to my children in the past, things that, that I want terribly, to have been forgiven of, things that had my children, look at me like in terror too, it's like, so I'm everything that I see. That's what I'm starting to realize. Like I have the capability of doing everything that I see done in this world, and that makes me want to forgive myself. Really, honestly, it makes me want to forgive myself, and it allows for me to kind of like when I witness things like that, just to kind of ask, like, what is that for? Like, why is that? Like, why did that bother me so much? Why am I constantly talking about that? Like, why am I having these thoughts? And I think it's because there's some forgiveness that needs to be done. Some forgiveness that needs to be done with myself.
Yeah,
Yeah,
nothing
like
can
life isn't
get
short.
better. Nothing can get better if you don't realize it. I mean, it is also a way to raise awareness in the way we do things on each kind of
No, absolutely. But you want to know something too?
situation.
This is what I want to say too. Like how we talk about like Will Smith, but what about Chris Rock's non-responsiveness? Yeah,
I read a
Exactly.
deep article on
Yes.
that one.
he said absolutely nothing. And do you guys know that he has a world tour coming up? Do you guys know the name of his world tour is The Death of the Ego?
Wow.
Heck out.
Really?
Wow.
Yes, it is. The name
That
of
is
his
so
world
nice
tour
to
is The
know.
Death
Oh,
of
now
the
this just fuels that
Ego.
conspiracy theory that there's
Right. So it's like, so that is very interesting too. So this opportunity can be turned into like a healing moment, right? I mean, that's how I kind of see it.
Yes.
It's like, wait a second.
Yes.
It's like it could be turned into a complete healing moment because Chris Rock has not responded.
And Will has
We know
responded
that.
well, right? Will did a
I
good
don't
job
really,
in
well,
his.
he responded, but I love Chris Rock's silence with this. And I love, and like, so like, just my little investigative mind is like going around, like trying to find out. And it's like, and when I found out that that was the name of his
Wow.
tour,
Oh
it had
man,
No
I
me
cannot wait.
respond.
thinking, because everybody's like because like everybody in my world is talking about, oh wow, he stood there and he allowed him to smack him in his face. It's like, what shame is that? Like how embarrassing is that? Like how can you walk out
All
after
right,
something
I
like
gotta
that?
tell you the other half of that story then. When
Go
Chris
ahead.
Rock was a little kid, somebody pissed him off. He went home, put a brick in his backpack, and came after that guy. Hit him with a brick and kicked him until he was unconscious. Chris was the oldest of 7 kids and the smallest of all of them. And he's had a fear of his own reactions ever since. He has extensive experience with his shrink, and they talked extensively about how he lets everybody in the world walk all over him. And that was the thrust of the article and him dealing with that. And I sincerely hope that it means that's what his show is really about. It would be
But
phenomenal.
you want to know what's his name has the same experience too. Will has the same experience
I
as
didn't
well.
know
So
that.
like they both, yeah, he has the same experience. He got hit in the head the same way when he was younger. Okay. Like right before, like he was performing or something like that, someone came and knocked him unconscious. So this is very interesting, the fact that both of them are encountering each other and probably have the same type of fears, just like me, just like how all of us, we have this thing, and, yeah, but thank you for that. Thank you for that, Lee. It's just very interesting just to kind of watch, right? And we
We're
say
all
it's not
experiencing
happening
through our
to us.
own egos, right? This is
Yeah,
this is this is for all of us to learn
I
from.
think it's yeah, I think it's for all of us. So Adriana, you were saying is that it has nothing to do with us, but I think it does, right? Because we're witnessing it,
Yeah,
right? What do you think?
exactly. Exactly. It has to do with us in the form of the of the spirit, right? But when I meant that it has nothing to do with you, I mean that you didn't have
I
any
know what you
participation
mean.
on it. Yeah, sorry. And it's really beautiful what you shared here because I didn't have that much of perspective on it, and that gave me really the right place to put this situation in my mind. So thank you for sharing all that because it's really like
May I
the
add something?
rest. Go ahead, Janine, of course.
Well, it's funny how many different aspects there are. So, in my world, the men in my world in particular, for them, it was a chivalrous act and in defense of his wife, period. And that it was justified. And that came from my boyfriend, it came from um, my son, and I think my uncle. They didn't all say they would actually do it, but they understood why he did it when he looked at his wife and saw how hurt she was about the comment. Because I think everybody knows she's been struggling with alopecia, and that's why she's bald, and she's publicly spoken about her struggle with it, and so the comment was so stinging. It came across her face that's what caused him to react instead of respond. And my daughter was like, well, he didn't have to hit him. He could have just, verbalized that comment like he did from the audience. That's all that was necessary. So, yeah, we had a big discussion about it yesterday. So it was, like you said, very interesting, and it has affected everybody. And all over the news. It's funny, I was one little incident, and yeah, they were like, well, it was kind of a man to man. Like, he checked him in a sense. He didn't draw blood. He didn't hurt him. It was like a slap. I mean, I'm sure it hurt, but like, yeah, he had to let him know, man to man, you don't, you don't insult my wife publicly like that. And he knows what his wife has gone through with that, what she is going through with it probably. So yeah, that was a tough one. And it's all ego. Yeah.
Yeah, Janine, you know something? I think it's interesting. I think like for me, studying a course, I think it's important to how we individually feel it, right? Because we have our triggers, just like you said, like the men in your family responded to that. That's maybe something that they need to hear, right? How I responded, was basically like how I shared, that's something for me to heal. It's something in that for me, yeah, because everyone is kind of responding from different perspectives, but I think it's important for me, like, studying the course to pay attention to like, to those but it may not hit me the same way, like what bothers you is not going to bother me because it's not for me. It's not part of my personal curriculum. And I think that was the lesson in this too, is that it's allowing me to kind of really see that, like, wow, we all come with our own personal curriculums, right? And moments like this help to bring it up, help to bring up what needs to be healed. So
Absolutely. I could see my ego because I was like, yeah, that's right. That's right.
yep, yep.
It definitely brought that up in me, and I could see it. I could definitely see it. And then I was able to, excuse me, whew, a little froggy in my throat this morning. But I could see that wasn't correct either. That type of grievance. And all that came up. Yeah, really interesting stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning, Bill.
This is really a fascinating conversation and at base, and I'll let everybody know if it's hard for me to tell. I'm out walking, and so if it gets too noisy and I can't be heard well, somebody say
You
something, and
sound great, Bill. No problem.
um, so as we look at basically our life's curriculum as it pertains to the ego and us finding our way back to peace. I've been thinking about what happened between Will Smith and Chris Rock from this perspective. Let's look at what's happened from the moment that happened on the Oscars to right now in this moment, and how the world, which is you and me, which is me, which is you, it's the one. Look at how the world has sort of grabbed hold of this in some ways like a person that's really hungry that finally gets their way back to food. It's all people are talking about. It's become a little bit of almost like an obsession of who was right, who was wrong. And so I asked myself the question, how would the world have consumed or paid attention to it if at that night Chris Rock would have said, you know, I was going to make a joke about Jada being bald, but then I realized that she had alopecia, so I just want to draw attention to alopecia and show Jada some love. And I bet that there would have been a brief period of time where everybody would have said, oh, wasn't that nice? And then we would have all more or less forgotten about it. And so this is in so many ways a perfect example to me, for me, as to how our egos glom on to drama, conflict, things like that, that it's sort of like a moth drawn to a flame, as opposed to if there was a beautiful example of love given to Jada that night, it would have just been, oh, wasn't that nice? And that would have been the end of it. So it's an interesting thing to look at.
Yes, in
But do you
fact,
think it's because?
I'm sorry. Go, Stella.
But do you think it's because like that's where the healing is, right? You know, I think
Yes.
that, you know, and that
Yeah.
shows you how much we need healing. Like this, like we need that show. That's an indication of how much we need healing. Is that
Uh,
everybody was triggered on that? You know, people are
uh,
triggered on negativity, right?
yeah, 1,000%. It's, in other words, I guess, another way to say what I said, and basically what you just said, is that what happened between Will and Chris is in very deep and profound ways Will and Chris's curriculum, but it's also mine and it's also yours. It
Yeah,
also
yeah.
has the potential to show us things that say, you know what, I remember that time when I was in 5th grade when that kid disrespected me and I did this, or whatever it was. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's an opportunity. You know, it's an opportunity. It really is. Or to project guilt, right? Because that's what the ego loves, separation, right? It's
Thousand.
just there's an opportunity just to project guilt. Oh, I'm not that. Look at that on the outside. You know what I mean? You know, but it's an opportunity to kind of look at ourselves like, wow, you know, and I had to, I don't know, and that's what I saw like immediately was like, wow, okay, this is an opportunity. So
Yeah, because I know either way, whether it's Chris or Will, especially billing on as the world's on, and I living my male human dynamic, have a whole set of questions that come along that say, I would have done that. And
We're
I,
losing
Brian, you're
you.
breaking up. Yeah, you're breaking up.
This is
okay.
this is a perfect opportunity to talk about that idea of justified anger, though. Everybody has been in a situation where everybody else in the smaller reality will say, oh, your anger is justified. And everybody in the big R reality says, oh, you've got to respond with love. And I don't know how Will could have responded with love to Chris's thing. That could have been even more spectacular. But
Just like
that's
what
our
Tom
lesson.
said. Remember Tom said, right, that like when you have all the information, you kind of maybe that was the most loving thing he could have done in that moment, right? He was to get up and do that. Like we don't know, you know.
And I have to say that it also made me realize how the academy hasn't been taking good care of the content, because in fact this is something that they should really take as an opportunity to improve, because the society is changing, the cultures are more open to the global perspective of things. So if you really want to make a change in the world, maybe using this kind of entertaining content should be with the how do you say, with the agree, I mean, with the other people's consentment. If you're going to talk like that about other people, I mean, and in fact, because they are all one, I mean, they are the mainstream figures in the global perspective of movies and things like that. So they all should have a kind of agreement on those contents.
This was an off-the-cuff joke, I think.
What?
I think it was an off-the-cuff joke.
Well, I don't know if it was or not, but that is something that the academy, instead of like pointing the finger at who's going to be kicked off or whatever, they should take this as an opportunity to improve the content of the show. And maybe being funny is not about pointing out other people's problems. They need to be clever on how to make jokes now, because it's not about shaming people out of just have some kind of entertaining. So
Yeah,
Have
I
you gone to
agree.
like, but have you gone to comedy shows, Adriana? Do you understand? Like
yeah.
comics are known for
Yeah,
like
I know. I
calling
really
stuff
love
out.
stand-up comedy, in fact,
Yeah,
and
like
they
comic
are
shows.
really hard.
Yeah,
Yeah, she's
right. And the whole thing that Will is a comic, right? Like I said, it's something else. I think it was something else, right? Because it just feels like it was deeper than that. It wasn't because of
All right,
that.
I think I know why it was deeper.
Go ahead, Ma.
I
I
do
think I
too. I
know
was
why it
going
was
to say
deeper.
something too, but go ahead, Lee.
You know what? No, I want to hear yours. Let's see if I'm right. Let me hear what you have to say.
Well, it was because of your background that you guys gave about both Will and Chris having been bullied, and
Right.
it was almost like a bully moment, like standing up moment,
Yeah.
and to me, and he's like, well, I think both my boyfriend and my son expressed, well, he has to go home with his wife. You know, he lives with her. He knows what she's going through. So he's like, here's my moment. Like, I didn't stand up before. I'm standing up to the bully this time. Because for him, I think Chris Rock felt like the bully. Like he was bullying his wife on this beautiful stage. Here she is. And he says something like that. That's gotta stick, you know? And no, he didn't respond, he reacted. It was like a guttural gut boom. I don't even think he really thought too long. And but that's where I think it came from. And I'd love to hear your thought, especially as a man, Lee.
Well, I this morning I learned a new word that I didn't know before, and it's cuck, cuck, and apparently it's a guy that is okay with letting his wife sleep with other men. And I didn't know this, but apparently they have an open relationship. And I had one with my first wife, and I didn't sleep with other women. She slept with other guys. I thought I could handle it. In the end, I really couldn't. And I had to move out of the state to get away from her because I loved her a lot. And I wanted her to be in love with me. But she wasn't in love with me the same way I was in love with her. And I thought I could handle it, and I couldn't. So my peaceful move was to move out of state and separate. And that's how eventually I was able to separate and get a divorce. So I hear that Will's in that same kind of position. I have no idea if he's in the same position that I was in, but that's where my heart kind of breaks, because I know how hard it is to feel like you love somebody, you're giving everything, even letting them go wherever they want, and at a egoic level, it just tore me apart. But it also started me down a road of healing. So I guess I'm learning from that, and I don't know whether that's what was going on in his head, but that was one of the things that's going on in my head as a response to it.
It's hard to know, but it's said that they have an open relationship on both sides.
Yep,
It's
that's
said
what they
that
say.
he does as well, but who knows, right? It could be like one-sided, like you said, and that part has been very public. So yeah, you could be right.
Well, can I
Does
say
anybody ever
something?
think that it's possible that it was all staged?
Yes, but I don't know. Like his after reaction when he was yelling seemed very real. Like
They're
we can make up
actors.
anything we want, right? Right? They're actors.
Yeah, he's a
They
good
really
actor and
are
all that,
actors.
but that didn't feel staged to me. It felt very in
I
Not
the
the
didn't
moment.
staging
actually
part.
see it myself. I just wondered if there was a
Oh
publicity
yeah,
stunt happening.
yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
with the
It was
title of Chris
definitely a
Rock's
rendering.
new comic thing being, what was it again? I'm so sorry. Something about the eagle?
The death of the eagle. Exactly.
Exactly. That fuels that conspiracy theory, but it when you watch the video, it sure seemed not staged to me. Maybe this does mean Will is really deserving of the award that he got, though.
What was his award?
Best actor.
Yeah, it could
That's
be.
hilarious. Yeah, the
Yeah.
timing of that. Wow.
Well, let's give room to
Woo!
Tom. Tom is going to say something.
Yeah, in regard, we tend to get caught up in people's actions. I would say that your actions are not important as to why you did something. Uh, you and I would say, we're not here to judge or anything like that. But if this person or I went and I had an experience, okay, and went and asked, and I think it's been mentioned before, asked, what would love have me do? And if love or your higher intuition says what you need to do is to go up and stand up to this, what you see as, uh, an abusive situation or whatever. If your higher self says, go ahead and slap that person or kick them around the block, that's okay. It's not the action. When we get caught up in the action, what we're doing is we're making this whole reality supposedly real. What we're here for is to grow and learn. We don't know the big picture. We don't know, uh, and we're not the director. We're just role players. And our job is to play our role and to grow and learn. And so if I slap someone around or if I shot someone and I shot that person because uh, I saw that he had a machine gun and he was going to kill, a bunch of people. Okay. And I went inside and that's what my response was, to minimize my fear or the fear of the larger population. There's nothing wrong, quote unquote, wrong with that. A Course in Miracles in a Ripley's Believe It or Not says all actions are neutral, that the events themselves are neutral. They have no ability to change who we really are, and that's why they're neutral. But what they are is they provide us learning lessons, and what this event does, it gives us the ability to call attention to a particular event and say, what learning lessons does it have it for me? I can either learn through observation, or I can, if I refuse to learn by observation, I'll eventually learn it by personal experience. So it's not so much the action, but why someone did that. And in this person's mind, we may very well find that that was actually, all things aside, what he was guided to do with his higher self. Now, it might be the ego. Who am I to judge that person? But you need to realize that it's not the action, it's why you do something. Do you do it out of fear or do you do it out of love? And sometimes love would have, and I think it was Bill or Sean said, or maybe it was George. He says, sometimes when you go and you ask the Holy Spirit as to what you should do, you're surprised by the answer. We think we know, and that's our ego. The Holy Spirit will guide us. And if the Holy Spirit says, go ahead and stand up to that bully or slap that bully around, that's what you did. And you did it in a
Yeah.
loving way. And it's
Sometimes
better
that's a
that you
lesson.
did it in a loving way than somebody did it in a hateful way. So it's not the action, it's why we do something. So I know that's a little different, perhaps twist, but uh, it's not the action. It's always why we did it. Did we do it out of love or did we do it out of hate? And I'll realize that we're always doing it based on trying to decrease our fear. And if we can handle our own fear, then it becomes a question, how can I reduce or help other people reduce the level of their fear? And probably in that situation, uh, his wife or whatever probably, felt that this is what she was, probably reduced her fear, saying, "Boy, I've got somebody that'll stand up for me." And maybe she saw that as love. Who knows? Everybody has different takes, but uh, all events are neutral. It's how we choose to interpret them and why we do things that's important. Thank you.
I
I
love
have a
that,
question.
Tom. That was awesome.
Tom, you're the
And
spirit in the mountain.
yes, yes. And
Tom,
listen,
but I don't understand.
and there was a correction. Did you guys see the correction in Chris Rock? He was like, "Wow, wow," and then and then
Oh God, yeah.
and then
Will
the
Smith
look
just
on
smacked
his
me in the face.
yeah, the look on his face was and then after Will Smith sat down and yelled, to keep his, like, is my wife's name out of your mouth, he said, "I will." So that was interesting, I thought. So yeah, I like that, Tom, in that, yeah, we can't really tell what the higher purpose out of that was, and to judge the action. That's so interesting and true. And I know, like, I'll see, for example, when you see a mother disciplining a child, a corporal punishment, little spank or whatever, and we may look at that as, wow, why did she hit her child? Which is what society does now a lot. But maybe the child needed the correction in that moment. Um, yeah,
I have
and
That's
a
it was,
an
question.
interesting response. I will. I love it. That's amazing. Yeah, it could have all
Can
been
I ask a
staged,
question,
really.
guys, though? I want to ask a question because I'm confused and I like to understand. So, if I mean, you say yeah, but like, isn't it like love or a call for love, right? And I don't want to judge, and maybe I am judging. I just want to be transparent, and that I do not understand how love can tell me to get up and shoot someone. You know what I mean? Like I interpret that as not being love. I don't know. And I'm not sure if that's what you're saying, Tom. That do you understand? Because it sounds like
Yeah,
you're yeah. Can you explain that a little bit
that's
for me,
what I
please?
am saying. That
How
actually,
though? Explain that to me.
if you realize that we are not the body and the body is us, or that we're not the body and the, you know, that we're a spirit, that we're a individuated aspect of consciousness, and we're all trying to grow and learn. You'll start realizing that in this fear-based world, we need people that will play the parts, the roles that are designed to push our buttons. And that helps us learn what we're trying to eventually evolve into and how we're supposed to respond. So we need people to push our buttons. And if we uh, mistake our body, okay, for example, let's just say Chris Rock, okay, and he, makes, and a lot of comedians do, makes fun of other people, okay, uh, maybe uh, he's there in this lifetime to grow and learn. And one of the things might be that maybe love wouldn't uh, make fun of other people at their expense. Maybe if you want to make a joke of yourself or something like that. Maybe he's doing that with malice. Who knows? You know, we're not really here to judge, but everybody's here to learn. As someone said, when he got, and I didn't see it, and I don't pay that much attention, but got slapped or whatever. I don't know if it was just a slap or if it was more than that, because, uh, anyways, that was a uh, different response to his show, and that gives him a pause to think and to say, is that really an appropriate behavior for me to do? And now he has a chance to think because someone else responded differently than what he's used to the response being. Instead of someone just rolling over and taking it and kind of laughing, even though they were deeply hurt, they responded. And now he's aware that words sometimes can cut, and words can be more painful, perhaps, than a slap across the face. So we're all here to learn and grow. And now he's been given a new experience for him to draw some feedback, and he can decide whether or not he needs to make mid-course corrections or modify, or if that's, justified, whatever. And so they're all learning experience. This world is just a place for us to grow to learn. It throws out events to see how we will respond, and based on our response, we draw feedback as to whether or not we think it was appropriate or not, and if we need to make mid-course correction. So rather than deal with the blame, shame, and guilt game, we just go and say, what did I learn? Realizing that I am not the body, that slap didn't hurt his consciousness. If I shot someone with the body, if there was a serial killer around and that person was killing people, and the only choice you had was to allow him to kill somebody else, or for you to kill that person, okay, and you chose to kill that person, okay, and you did that, you know, for whatever reason, and like I said, it becomes a question of why you did that. But that might be, the world may judge us and say that we're going to go to prison for that act. All right, and I'll take the consequences of my action. Okay, I'll say, well, yeah, I did that for whatever reason. It doesn't matter. I did it, and I'll pay the price. But the other person is here also to learn. So maybe that person's learning lesson that he needed to learn was that, not good to run around killing people. Okay, even in time and space, it's not good to do that. So we need people's different responses so that we can hone our skills. And the activity, it's better that I kill you without malice in my heart than someone kill you with malice in their heart, because they're going to continue to drag that through uh, and suffer their own karmic uh, penance for that action, and it's going to continue to cycle. Whereas if I kill you without with just saying, well, this is what love would have me do, and realize that I didn't quote unquote kill you, I shot your body token, and now you don't have a place, you're no longer holding has a body to hold a space on the game board of time and space, and this moment in time, but you still exist. I didn't kill you. I didn't kill you. I realize, and And I could very well have realized, and I see this, I know that you're not the body. Okay, so I didn't harm you. I just helped you, so to speak, or played my role in our reawakening to the truth of who we are. Whenever you look at the physical action and you say that that's the consequence, whatever that consequence had, and you want to uh, say that it has repercussions that are ongoing, and somehow we've destroyed something that God created as perfect, whole, and complete. That's our mistake. I misjudged you. I mistook your game token for the truth of who you really are. And we're all learners, we're all students. And the thing is we need to have other people that maybe in this fear-based world, we need other people to have fear so that we can have the experience of opposites and say, you know, what would I uh, do in this situation? If this world was a totally loving place, we'd have nothing to learn from. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm thinking about how we observe that. We observe that situation, and that situation, we're judging it, and but if we just observed it, we'd see that the consequences that are coming from it, from each person's reaction, and it's an ability to turn and observe our own. What would I do? You know, and while we don't really know because it didn't happen to us, we still experienced it through others. We do live vicariously, actually, and this is how we like then have more data, and in order to make, you know, to we get more data in our intellect from, you know, these kinds of observations. And yeah, and then when we have certain understandings, there's behaviors we wouldn't do just because we have, you know, further our understanding. Like, I'm sure that I would not kill someone out of malice. I feel very sure of that. I don't react to, and that, well, I feel very sure of that. I really do. Now, out of trying to stay alive and sustain myself, you or me, I'm going to try my best to stay alive. So, you know, that just not really. It's a reaction, not even a. It's not even like something which actually for me has brought me a lot of peace to know that I'd react in the moment I need to, and I don't have to prepare myself and think of all these bad scenarios and how would I handle them if they come. That's like a preparation of. That's like bringing things into my awareness that aren't there, that are out of fear, right? So without the fear, I know that I'll react if I need to. I trust that, and it brings me a lot of peace to know that I can trust myself. And I'm not talking about hurting another person even. I'm talking about all different scenarios.
A miracle is simply a change in your perception from fear to love. It occurs within the mind and is not necessarily observable in the physical world. So how does that
Yes.
definition compare with your understanding of what a miracle is?
Yep.
You know, I
Does
think,
this...
and I'm sorry,
Go
go
ahead,
ahead,
Doug.
Lee.
No, go ahead, Bill. I was reading from the book to prompt. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was actually going to read a short passage from the course also, as I'm thinking about what I'm hearing Tom and everybody else say. And I think whether we're talking about Will and Chris or the question about somebody shooting somebody, we're talking about concepts that maybe in the traditional sense we think of as sin. And so I looked up a couple of things, and I'm struck by a passage that reads, "When you are tempted to believe that sin is real, remember this: if sin is real, both God and you are not. If creation is extension, the Creator must have extended himself, and it is impossible that what is part of him is totally unlike the rest. If sin is real, God must be at war with himself. He must be split and torn between good and evil, partly sane and partly insane, for he must have created what wills to destroy him and has the power to do so. Is it not easier to believe that you have been mistaken than to believe this? And that really grounds, I think, a lot of what Tom was saying. And anyways, I hope that supports.
Yes,
Love it.
sir.
Yeah.
Yes, it did. Definitely.
That's something I've thought about, and I'm so glad you read that passage about God being against itself. And because God expresses itself as unique, individualized expressions, is it God wanting to see itself expressed and kind of it was too much to think about, really, I guess, but because I'll never know, I guess, but maybe that is the case, to kind of, maybe God is so magnificent and great it's hard to see itself until it's expressed as us. um that's just a thought I've had, and it's like, it always felt crazy to think that, but that maybe God is just everything, and it needs to see that worked out, kind of.
Oh my
And
God,
maybe
you
maybe
nailed it.
I'm
Wow.
maybe I'm personalizing it as a human, but
Yeah, Janine, I think that the way that to sort of boil it down, which is always dangerous, I know for me, when I try and say, oh, this is what that means, instead of just really truly being with it. But for the sake of us thinking about it, for me, the passage that I read views God as the creator, and we are essentially a thought in the mind of God. In other words, God, through his thought, God's extension, his thought, created us. And so that brings forward the question, and what I read about sin, of ask yourself the question, did God create sin? Or is it something that, because the distinction between us and God is God is a creator and we are not, because we are an extension of God, the sun and a sunbeam, like the ocean and the wave. And so the question becomes, at some level, if God didn't create sin, we didn't create, because we are not creators. The course makes the distinction between creating and making. We made sin, which is to say that sin is an illusion. So whether we're talking about Chris and Will and the slap, or whether we're talking about the shooting of somebody, or whatever other example that is a quote unquote sin, it's something that we have made up to play the games of the ego within ourselves. And it becomes a question, ultimately, of, do we use Will and Chris, or somebody shoots somebody that evokes something in us that's an opportunity for healing, for forgiveness, for a shift in perception. So hopefully that supports.
right. And that was kind
Yeah.
of my extended thought based on your reading. And that I feel sin is definitely man-made. Or I can't say man-made either. I mean, if we're actually, as you mentioned, the wave being part of the ocean, the wave is not different from the ocean, except that it's a smaller representation. It has the same qualities. It has all the same molecules. It may not be as powerful and as vast, but it definitely has the qualities.
Well, I think a
So,
distinction that might support
hmm
is just think of it this way. Think of it the same way we talk about the split mind. And so there's the split in the mind has us be able to be in the space with the Holy Spirit, which is as close as we get to truth, while we're still all walking around in our bodies, our clothes, that's a body, or the other side of the split mind, which is the ego grounded in the illusion. And that's where sin exists, is in the illusion. In other words, it's not even really real. So we can make up basically
Yes.
anything here. And the point of the Holy Spirit, and the course identifies ultimately that the Holy Spirit itself is even an illusion, because God doesn't, my words paraphrasing, God doesn't dip into the unreal, which is not truth. So the Holy Spirit is the bridge back, the opportunity back to what is truth. And so when we start falling into distinctions of man-made and things like that, I find it useful to just remind myself, man-made, yes, in the illusion, which is to say it's not true, it never really happened in truth.
Yeah, I seen I'm sorry.
Oh, can I just say really
Yeah,
quickly, Andy?
sure. Yeah, of course.
I think we're saying the same thing in different
Yeah, I
words. I'm
think
I'm
so
just kind of saying, yeah, it's all part of God. Like we have these labels, even the label of the mind and the label of the ego, which helps us to, I guess, differentiate and explain things for us on our level. But yeah, I guess I was really expanding on the point in my own words, I suppose. But thank you.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, like I said, or like I was hearing Janine. I was said that we'll never see the face of God. Why? Because we're trying to look specifically at some, trying to look specifically for some specific thing, like on it, rather than seeing the everything. And we can't see everything at once, unfortunately, in in the ego, right? But we can fathom it. I feel like that's what similar. That's what I took from what Janine was saying, and yeah.
All right, let me bring us back to the lesson for a minute. We're about 2 hours in, and this is usually where I give you guys an opportunity to go out and bring these miracles out into the real world. So here's the question to take with you today. A miracle is simply a change in your perception from fear to love. It occurs within the mind and is not necessarily observable in the outside world. So remember, what we see out there isn't the thing that we're focused on. It's not necessarily observable. So, does this new definition help explain why you are entitled to miracles? Go today and have some miracles. Share them with us tomorrow when we're here at about 6:37, and I'll start reading the next lesson. Thank you, guys. And if you still want to share, I'm not closing the room. I'm just giving you guys an opportunity if you've got a busy day.
Yeah, I was going to ask, just going back, like right before the, Will Smith, Chris Rock conversation, Tom stated 4 points to like get you out of it, if you will. I was going
Oh,
to ask him
yeah.
to restate that so I could write them down and take it in a little bit.
Yeah, me too, Tom. Can you give it us? Can you give it?
Yeah, I'll give them. First is, and this is, whenever you really have done something that you feel you have to, make amends for. The first is sincere repentance. I'm really sorry. Okay. The second is confession. No excuses. I did it. The third is amend or atone. I'm going to make it my number one priority to repair the damage my actions caused. And then the fourth is align with your own intuition or higher self. I will, hereafter responsibly follow the guidance of my higher self, my intuition, rather than my ego. And there's no blame, shame, or guilt. It's just, instead, it's self honesty, responsibility, and reclaiming your own sourceness, integrity, and inner peace that we're after on those 4 points to recover those energy circuits that we've got tied up with that grievance, with our in this case, our actions. Did you, did I go too quick? You're good?
Well, I got first, so, say sorry. Two, no excuses. I did it. Like make yourself
The first one,
responsible.
yeah, the first one was sincere repentance. I'm really sorry. The second is confession, no excuses. I did it. The third is amend or atone. I'm going to make it my number one priority to repair the damage my actions caused. And then the fourth is align with your own higher self, your own intuition. Otherwise, uh,
It's
ask
fun.
for guidance instead of just following that
It's funny because
ego
these are
voice.
like the four statements of the Ho'oponopono. I'm sorry, please forgive me. I thank you, and I love you in some form.
Small.
Okay. All right. Create a great day. I gotta go.
All
Namaste.
right, Tom. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you,
Thanks,
All right.
Tom.
Tom.
Thanks,
Thank
Tom.
you
Thank
very
you. Have a
much.
great day.
I think what was important, what he said there at the end, was that that leads you to your higher self, and then not getting trapped in the ego, like the blame, shame, and ego game that we can do, feeling sorry for ourselves. And that instead it leads to self honesty, responsibility, and recovering the energy source. I think that one's really important because we can get trapped up in like what we did or what someone said we did versus that self honesty and taking accountability and responsibility. So, and that would allow us to recover those energy sources rather than continuing to go into the blame and shame game. So, I think it's really important.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for that, Michael.
Mm. And on the
Hey,
Will
so I
Smith thing,
just wanted
I,
to
oh, go ahead.
share.
Yes, go ahead.
Oh, thank you. It's just a conversation, and those points that Tom brought up reminded me of a situation that to me was a miracle a couple of years ago with a friend. So I have this friend that we've been friends since we were 9 years old. And I mean, she is my assignment because she triggers me like nobody else. Because she's been through very difficult situations, like very traumatic, including domestic violence and those kinds of traumas. And so I tried for a long time to get her to, to do some work, to do some spiritual or at least psychological, psychoanalytic work or something. And she just refuses. And of course, it's been my doing right now because I've worked on this issue for a long time. So I know now that it is my wrongdoing of trying to get her to do something or be something that she's not, to do something that she doesn't want to do. So that's my issue. But this re- this the points that Tom brought up reminded me about a couple of years ago, one day, because I've told her, I've been like really I've shared with her my path and what I do. It was a manipulation because I was doing it in the hopes that she would, she would come to the light side. And then one day we were chatting on WhatsApp a couple of years ago, and I was mad about something. I was angry about something or something. Can't even remember what that was. And so I thought, oh, I'm mad about this and that. And she responded, she said something like, oh, but I thought you were enlightened. Oh, I thought you were so enlightened. I thought enlightened people didn't get angry. And I got so angry. So I was listening to you guys and, talking about this incident with Will Smith, and it connected to me. Like I felt this rage inside me when she said that. I felt this rage that I could not contain. Of course, it was like the biggest ego attack, but at least at that time, I was advanced enough that because I mean, my fingers were trying to write all kinds of ugly words into the keyboard, but I was able to stop myself and just breathe for a minute. And all I said was, you know what? I wrote to her, you know what? I feel like I'm full of poison right now. So that was the word I used. I said, I'm filled with poison.
Intoxicated, yeah.
With poison towards you right now. So I cannot talk to you right now. Let me just step back, and I'll talk to you in a couple of days. And that was what I managed to do, right? So I knew I was doing the course already. So I knew this was my thing. And so of course the mind would bring me back to the situation constantly, right? For the next few days. And every time it did, I was just filled with rage. I wanted to kill her. I don't know what I wanted to do to her. And it took but I prayed, and every time the mind brought me back to the situation, I was like, dear God, I give the situation to you. I know this is not real. I know that this is just my ego, and this is just my attachment to her being a certain way, and my being disrespectful towards her own path and everything. So I would pray every time I would pray. So those were like about 10 days of really intense prayer, because I was so upset. And it took about after day 7 or something like that, I felt the rage starting to ebb away, to just ebb away. And there was this space for me to see more clearly, and to start to wonder, okay, what are the things that I am accusing her of? And so I started to write them down. She does this, and she does that, and she doesn't do this, and she talks to me this way, and then I looked at the list, which was about 12 things. And I looked at the list, and I replaced her with me. So if I said, for instance, she doesn't listen to me, then I would write, I don't listen to her. So I would replace her for me. And when I read the list back, it was like, oh man, I do all of these things. I do all of these things against her all the time. And so at that moment, I said, for instance, she doesn't listen to me, the miracle, then I would, because it was that shift in perception. It was so that I will replace her. This is just me. This is all my doing. It was like, and so what I did was I wrote her a message. I do all of these things against her. I took each one of those phrases, and I said, for instance, she doesn't please forgive me for, because it was those words to her. It was that I wrote her a message that was like 12 paragraphs. Every paragraph was like, please forgive me for. And so I contacted her and I said, I'm ready to talk again. I took each one of those phrases, and I want to say this to you. And so I sent her the message. And I guess she was like, I wrote her a message that was like 12, what is this paragraphs? I never, yeah, okay, because please forgive me. I sent her the message, and so I contacted her and I said, she said, yeah, I mean, yeah, sure, each one of them, okay, yeah. So what did you do last weekend? And it was like nothing to her, like she was like, what are you talking about? She was like, I wrote her. So that you're talking about? Like,
yes, it was only you. It was only you. In fact, I have something to say to you. It's funny that you're telling this story here, because in other lessons before, you mentioned something that happened to you with your sister, and now it makes me wonder, what is it about yourself being enlightened that you have this kind of experiences with your sisters too. I mean, it's something there that you have been experiencing. In fact, I have some different role players that gives you this kind of reaction when somebody tells you that you're enlightened. What is it about enlightenment that you don't trust that you are enlightened? Because we are all enlightened. But we just don't remember. Experiences with your sisters too. I mean, it's something there that you have been experiencing. In fact, I have some different role players that gives you this kind of reaction when somebody tells you that you're enlightened. What is it about enlightenment that you don't trust that you are enlightened? Because we are all enlightened. But we just don't remember.
Stressful situations, but I mean, unnecessarily
In fact, I have some
stupid
role players
where I say
that gives you this kind of
because I
reaction when somebody
feel
tells you that you're enlightened.
stop for a
What is it
minute and
about
see
enlightenment
how
that you don't
ridiculous
trust
this
that
is.
you are enlightened? Because we are all enlightened. But we just don't remember.
So of course, I mean, I'm aware of situations, but I
I'm
now
making it real.
yeah, and so stupid some more people where I say everything, but actually because I actually had a feel stop for a minute that I feel ridiculous these days, which is about situations for the people who just can't do it.
I'm making it real.
Here's what I mean. You guys, where I say, right? So we're doing work and we're showing up and we're trying to stay present and trying, we're doing the mindfulness work, trying to see, we're doing situations. So of course, we just can't do it.
I'm making it real.
Here's what I mean. You guys, where I say, read the material and understand the material, reflect on the material and talk about it, really let it, sink in and all of that. What trying to see there? We're doing situations, have those privileges. And I mean, for people who
I'm making it
are
real.
for people who are elder. So I was where I read the material and they're over 75. Reflect on the material and talk about it. I
Yeah,
mean, really
I know where she's going.
sink in and all of that. Like trying to see which there. I don't know how they know each other and they put up with each other like more than 4 years. So
Making it real.
and they're always fighting. They're always fighting. And we by now, I mean, they're over 75. She makes me laugh because she says, I mean, really,
I know where she's going.
so diminished by now. We're so diminished. And they're like diminished. They can't put up with each other more than what I see right now. So my mom had a new cell phone last year, and still by now, and I teach her how to make a call, and then she forgets, and my I really take some dessert, and then I took the dessert there to taste it. And a couple of days later, my dad, you didn't bring me any dessert. I thought you were going to bring me my mom. I wanted to sell dessert last year, and I'm like, so there, and I teach her how to make a call, and
Mom ate it all.
it's not there anymore. I'm wondering, and then what hope is there for people who don't have it and a couple to just do some work, just
It's
do
just
the
that
work.
I mean, from my point of view, and it doesn't have to be the truth for you.
Mom ate it
From
all.
my point of view, there's nothing that you can do outside. I mean, the work for me is not meant to be saved, but be forgiven within me. I need to forgive the world with all the colors of the rainbow because now I know because I'm doing this work. I mean, for from my point of view, kind of effort to really release my mind from the ego, is that the world is not, it's just a perception, a partial perception of the light. If you see the world, the colors, the forms, the shapes, the different humans that are there, the disabilities, all of that, all of that from my point of view is just a partial reflection of light that you are learning how to give it, not to, it's just a perception, a partial perception of the light, because its essence, the essence of each color, the essence of each shape, of each country, of every single humans that are there, the part of this supposedly reality, all of that from my point of view, light. The colors come from light, the colors that you are giving us a perspective of separation, but it's not. They all come from the essence, the essence of in my point of view. It's just a lesson of how to constantly be part of this all reality. So the world is not meant for you to be saved. It's meant for you to be enjoyed, no matter what, no matter the difference that you see there. And of course, you can do something around you to help people that is in this kind of disadvantage, if you want to say it like that. But you do it out of love, not with the meaning of or with the sense of I'm gonna make them be better. No, you will give love no matter what for them to have experience of love, because you can observe them. Of course, you can do something. That's my perspective.
Also,
That
wise.
is
You are
this
so
kind
wise.
of disadvantage, if you want to say
Also,
it like
you have
that.
to remember
But
when you do the work,
you do
everyone
it out
around
of
you is
love,
actually
not
doing the work.
with
Even though it
the
may
meaning
not be
of or with
shown
the sense of
by them,
I'm gonna make them
but in
be
their
better. No, you will
actions.
give
Because I
love
too
no matter
am
what for
taking
them
care of
to
my
have
aunt
experience of
who
love.
forgets
You can observe
1 minute
of
to the
course you can
next.
do
And I just keep
something. That's my
repeating it,
perspective.
keep doing it in love. And I caught myself yesterday, last night,
Also, you have to remember when you
almost
do the
saying
work,
to
everyone
myself before
around
I
you is
answered
actually doing the
for the
work.
millionth
Even though it
time
may not be
the
shown
same questions
by
over and
them,
over and over
but
again.
in their
And as
actions. Because I
Adriana
too am
says,
taking
we
care of
just have
my
to
aunt who
get out of our
forgets
ego
1 minute
and
to the
just make
next.
them
And
as
I just keep
happy as they
repeating it,
possibly
keep
can. And
doing it in
when my
love.
aunt said,
And
well,
I
you
caught
didn't do
myself
that, then I
yesterday,
just do
last
it.
night. Also, you have to
Even
remember
though I
when you
just
do
did
the
it
work,
15 minutes
everyone
ago,
around you is actually doing the
for the
work.
millionth
Even though it
time,
may not be
Thank you
shown
so
the
much,
same
Rosa.
questions
That's
by
over and
them,
over and over
but
again.
in their
And as
actions.
you're always
Adriana
right.
says,
Taking
we
care
just
of
have to get out of our ego. It's new to me too, but I'm feeling it some kind of way. When my aunt said, well, you didn't do that, throughout my course of my day with her. Even though I just and I try to stay in love no matter what. Because when you
Thank you
start
so much,
telling them
Rosa.
you did it already, they'll deny it and get upset and
You're
all that.
always
So you
right.
might as well just do it over again. And say, oh, this is the fabulous dessert we had last night, some kind of way. Even if you have to bring in a dessert that you didn't make last night. And I try to stay in love, no matter what. Because when you
You
start
know,
telling them
one
you
thing
did it
that I
already,
find
they'll
useful
deny
from
it
it
and get
is your name
upset and
pronounced
all that. So
Cara?
you might as well
Is that how you
just do it
pronounce it?
over again. And say, oh, this is the
She's
fabulous
Caroline,
dessert
like
we had
Carol. It's
last
just that
night,
in
some
Spanish,
kind
she
of
is
way.
from
Even
Colombia
if you have to
too.
bring in
Okay,
a
okay.
dessert
She
that
is
you didn't make
Carolina.
last
Yeah,
night.
sorry.
I'm sorry.
And
I'm
I try
sorry
to
I'm
that
not
I
stay
jumped
in
in.
love,
I
no
think,
matter what.
yeah, I think,
Short for Caroline.
you
She's
know,
so sweet.
Telling
yeah,
them
I
Caroline.
you
think
did it
Carolina, I
already,
find
they'll
useful
deny
from
it
it.
and get
Is your name
upset and
pronounced
all that. So
Cara?
you might as well just do it
Anyways,
over again.
the
And say, oh, this is the
what I find
She's
fabulous
helpful for
Caroline,
dessert
me
like
is
we
to
had
Carol.
consider
It's
last
just that
night,
in
questions
some
Spanish,
kind
she
of
is
way.
from
similar
Colombia
to
too.
the one
Okay,
that
okay.
you
She is
asked.
Carolina.
Is
Yeah,
that
sorry.
I'm sorry.
the book,
I'm sorry
I'm
that
A
I
not.
Course
jumped
in
in.
Miracles?
No matter
I
what.
think there's a lot, even just in the title.
Caroline.
I
One
think
thing
Carol,
that I find
it's
useful from it and get
is your name
upset
pronounced
and
Cara?
say, you might as well just do it
Anyways, it
over again.
doesn't tout itself
And
as
say, oh, this is
the
the
or
She's
the
Caroline,
Course in
like
Miracles.
Carol.
Consider
It's just
and
that
the
in Spanish,
distinction
she is
that
from
I
Colombia
receive
too.
there, the one that you
She is
asked, the
Carolina.
Course
Yeah,
that
sorry.
points
I'm
at
sorry.
the book
I'm
points it
sorry
out.
that I
Course in
jumped in.
Miracles is that it's a way, even just not the title, back into peace, have the shift in perception. Anyway, it doesn't tout it another way that I think about that, or at least
Carol,
the
I like
happiness
Carol.
and the
How
distinction that A Course in Miracles came to be, and the course that point was a book describes apparently that the thoughts or the words of Jesus, but was only brought to us back in the 1970s. Shift in perception. Now people have been waking up, becoming enlightened, finding peace for long before, and hopefully long after the 1970s. There are many ways that the follow the path of non-Jesus, which is what A Course in Miracles is. And now for some people that waking up, say, have cognitive challenges or whatever it may be, it's also long after the course that it could be true that the things egoically, which is what we are presented with, and we begin to believe and experience as truth, call it the build-up challenges or whatever going sludge of life, that hopefully long after the thought processes like that, Course in Miracles help us to unlearn that the things egoic so we can find our way back to truth is that it could be true that people that have some cognitive challenges or whatever it may be are subjected to less of that they have to unlearn, if you will, as they find their way back to peace. And in the opportunities and the curriculum our way back to truth, God is that it could be true that we are all coming back to peace as truth or whatever. So whether it's you or me, going self, or somebody around the world that hopefully have challenges, issues, we're all, as they find their way back, facets of the same diamond. We're all the opportunities and the curriculum. We're all waves in the ocean. We're all sunbeams from the same that sun. We are also over whatever time, in the parlance of our egoic human self or somebody around the world, over that whatever time it takes issues for us to find our way back to peace, we'll all get there. And it's just a matter of when that happens. So I think that I find peace in those in those concepts. That there's not a way. The parlance of our egoic, for some people, it could be their life experience, a sunrise one morning that just strikes them that, oh my God, it just all is. When that has been. So I think that peace. I hope that supports in those concepts that there's not
Thank you so
a
much.
way.
I
The
really
parlance of
what
our
I'm
ego,
getting
for
from
some
all
people,
of
it
the
could be
comments is
their life
how
experience,
mankind
a
fails to
sunrise one
touch
morning
the
that
law
just
of
strikes them as,
separation,
oh my
and it
God,
forgets that
it just all is. When that
love
has been. So I think that
peace.
is for all of us.
I hope that supports
Makes me a little bit emotional.
in those concepts that there's not.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you for that.
I
Parlance of
what
our
I'm
ego,
getting
for
from
some
all
people,
of
it
the
could be
comments is
their life
how
experience,
mankind
a
fails to
sunrise one
touch
morning
the
that
law
just
of
strikes them as,
separation,
oh my
and it
God,
forgets that
So I want to
it just
thank you
all
because
is. When that
all of
love
you,
has been.
because
So I think that
this lesson today was
for all
really
of us.
rich
I hope that
in
supports
Makes
conversation,
me a little bit
adaptions, and
emotional.
in those
perspectives.
concepts that there's
It's
not.
fun to
Thank you
have
so
these
much.
kind
Okay,
of
thank you for that.
spaces
I
where we can apply the
Ego, for
concepts
some
from
people,
the
it
Course
could
in
be
Miracles
their
into
life
how
experience,
mankind
a
situations that
sunrise
we all
one
share
morning that just
through
strikes them
other
as, oh my
and it
through other
God,
people.
forgets
So,
that
I want
it
to
just
thank you
all
because
is.
it's really a
love
wonderful
So I think that
this lesson today was
for all
really
of
rich.
us.
Thank you
I
very
hope
much,
that supports
Makes me a little bit
in
emotional.
those concepts that there's not.
It's fun to
Thank you
have
so
these
much.
Okay,
kind of
thank you for that.
spaces
Parlance
where we
of
can
our
apply the
ego, for
concepts
some
from
people,
the
it
Course
could
in
be
Miracles
their
into
life
How
experience,
mankind
situations that
sunrise
we all
one morning
share
that just
through
strikes them
other
as, oh my
and
to other people. So, I want to thank you because it's been
All
very
right, I'll take this opportunity to thank you guys for being here yet again. Today's workbook lesson 89, beyond this is the miracle by which all my grievances are replaced. That's what Will was thinking. I was walking off the stage, of course. So, have a great day. Tomorrow we'll be back with workbook lesson 90. Enjoy your beautiful day. Thank you for coming. I'll take this opportunity to thank you guys for being here yet again.
Blessings to
Today's
us all.
workbook lesson 89, beyond this is the miracle by which all my grievances
Thanks so much,
are
everybody.
replaced.
Thank you, Caro.
That's what Will
I'm
was
loving
thinking.
every time that you're
I
here
was
with
walking
us.
off the
Thank you for
stage, of
joining us.
course.
Thank you.
So, have a great day.
Thank you,
Tomorrow we'll be
Nadia.
back with
Yourself also.
workbook lesson 90. Enjoy your
Thank
beautiful
you.
day. Thank you for coming. I'll take this opportunity to thank you guys for being here yet again.
Blessings to
Today's
us all.
workbook lesson 89, beyond this is the miracle by which all my grievances
Thanks so much,
are
everybody.
replaced.
Thank you, Caro.